Hey everybody, I'm Ryan Doyle. This is the Verdigris Table, of course, and today we're going to talk about the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation. What else? Because I want you to see a live demo of it. Well, not live. We've been doing some live streams, so come check that out. We're going to do it, I think we're going to do it tonight. We're going to do a few next week, but I want people to see what this thing does, right? I've been talking about it a lot. I want you to see it in action. So we're going to roll some dice and we're going to build us an animal whisperer. This is a cool background. You're rolling up a druid or a ranger or even like a wizard that's leaning into a familiar. Arcane trickster with a familiar is a pretty intense combo, and maybe it's you're gonna go urchin background and you got that friendly mouse, but like, well, let's lean into these tropes. I mean, we can definitely do custom backgrounds and assign skills and whatever else, feat, depending on how you're playing, to these. But this is all system neutral. This is all the story side of things. This is all the spice, baby. This is flavor. This is a spice cabinet. This is a kitchen stocked with ingredients to make your game better, whatever you're cooking up. And that's true if you're on the player side or the game master side. We're going to do the game master side second, but let's look at the player side. And this could actually be both the player and the game master. I've done this several many times now with players during session 0. We're preparing for new campaigns. I wanted to playtest this material. I'm also super happy with it, and I feel like, ooh, it's going to do some awesome stuff for us. We've been very concentrating on mechanics lately and learning new rule sets. So I wanted to like refocus back onto the story side of things. We're returning to 5e. We've got the rule set down better. It's a little simpler compared to Pathfinder. And yeah, I really want these characters to feel connected to the world because I've got some big things planned for both of these campaigns I'm running. So whether you're doing this, by yourself during character creation or you're doing it at the table with everybody else, rolling up stats at session 0, you're going to roll all of the dice. Let's roll all of the dice. All right, I don't know if you caught that, but we roll one of each die type. How often do you get to do that? I love that feature. So we got a 19 on the d20, and that is telling us our character's motivation. Why is our character out here risking their life to be an adventurer, right? If you don't have a good answer to that, you don't have a good character. And if you do have a good answer to that, then that's going to guide a lot of your role play decisions, right? Like your character wants to survive, your character wants to excel at their abilities, improve, get better. That's built in, but you need a little bit more than that if you want the other people at the table to buy into your character being interesting and memorable. So our character here pulled a 19, and that's going to be get in touch with the purity of the primal. Dang, that's juicy. We could do a lot with that. I can see a lot of interesting choices. I mean, already right out the gate, we're chaotic, right? But we're like the law of nature chaotic. That is going to mesh. We'll see what comes up next. Part of this is the connections between all these little bullet points, these sparks, but like already, yeah, my fire is lit. Now, the next thing on the list, the D12 table, is catalysts, calls to adventure, and lore drops. And this is kind of a multifaceted one. During session 0, during character creation, this is like your origin story in a sense. Why are you not what your background was, right? And your old day job may have been an animal whisperer, and we can determine what that is. Maybe we were training horses, or we were out there in the wilderness just surviving, and made some buddies, whatever it may be. But the idea is we're no longer doing that. Now we're dungeon delving for reasons. So for that, we got 7. Culture of totemic reverence for beasts. Totemic? Totemic? Culture of totemic reverence for beasts. So I mean that clicks in very nicely with the whole motivation of getting in touch with the purity of the primal. I'm getting barbarian vibes all of a sudden. We're getting totem barbarian vibes. Culture of totemic reverence for beasts. So we're not just out there isolate in the wild. We were part of some culture, some tribe, right? And we were taught the reverence for beasts to the point where we can embody those traits. I mean, that's a totem barbarian, but that's also a druid, right? And that's also potentially a ranger. I like that combination a lot. And that's two die rolls. We've got some more stuff to do, and this is before we've even started playing. I like to leave a lot of room open for what comes up at the table. I don't want to walk into a game with a novel of a backstory. One, because that puts a big burden on the dungeon master. Hey, I know perhaps you have purchased an adventure or have spent hours and hours and hours home brewing one, or a little from column A, a little from column B, but please and thank you, could you also incorporate all of this bespoke material for me and make it relevant, even though I have no idea what you've been working on? And yeah, I hope it connects. So I like these little almost bullet points, these sentence fragments, these just like ideas, these concepts that have a lot more flexibility to them, because it's much easier for the dungeon master side of things to, okay, where is there a culture that has a totemic reverence for beasts that I have come from and have left to get in touch with that primal nature? Somewhere on the game master's map, be it, Galarian or Forgotten Realms or their own homebrew world, they're going to find a spot for that to make sense. And odds are they're going to love that and run with it. And that's going to make playing this character that much more fun, because they have a place in this world. And, maybe we go and visit that place, or maybe we bring, that culture's reverence for animals with us to other places. And there is definitely, built-in leveling up whatever role-playing game you are playing, even video games. An RPG, you're playing the same character, and that character is getting better and better and better. Even they're getting better abilities, they're learning and growing physically, mentally, charismatically, whatever the case may be, or they're getting items that are making them more powerful, or again, both, right? Our hit points are going up, our ability scores are increasing, we're gaining feats, abilities, spells, an extra attack, whatever the case may be. But there's also a flip side to that that often gets ignored, and that is the arc of the character's growth from the story side of things. Again, it's two things at once. And a character that just starts awesome and gets better and better and better is fun to play, but is less fun to watch, and potentially less fun to play than a player character that has an arc built in, right? And again, it doesn't have to be chapter and verse. This is my act 1, this is my act 2, this is my act 3. I know exactly what's going to happen, right? That's why we play this game, to find out what happens. The dice are going to tell us what happens. The game master is going to tell us what happens. The other people around the table and the decisions we make are going to determine what happens. That's the juice. That's the good stuff. That's why we're playing a tabletop role-playing game and not something that has been pre-programmed, however artificially intelligent it may be. Um, yeah, we're in a space where anything can happen, but if we have some form of direction, and let's look at what we got on this D8. We got a 5, lone traveler to community educator. So that is something I could, pretty much any character I've run could have done that. You're out there on your own, right? You've set out from your tribe. Now you're a loner, and especially if we're talking, whatever barbarian sort of culture of like tribe is all, like the group over the individual. Then we're talking about being alone as like a burden, as an onus, or run with it the other. Maybe where we were ostracized, right? Maybe we're exiled. Maybe the rest of our tribe is gone for dramatic story relevant reasons, right? They got by the dragon that lives in the mountain that's secretly a volcano, or the big bad evil guy that I don't know yet because I haven't started playing the game Dungeon Master, but yeah, maybe they killed all of my friends and family. That could be interesting. Lone traveler to community educator. So I could see, well, again, I would go in looking for opportunities to make that transition, and it's not going to happen, one night. It's not going to happen one level. I mean, maybe the perfect thing lines up, and it does, and we roll another D8 to see what our next progression is going to be. But community educator means based on what we have so far, connecting with the other player characters and non-player characters, and to a degree, sharing our reverence for animals, right? We're the animal whisperer. And that could translate to, nature, ecological themes, Yeah, depending on what we see out there in the world, there's going to be different ways to take that. But walking in with an idea, looking for those opportunities, means my character is just 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, is way more developed than a totem barbarian based on the 6 ability scores. All right, so these are all lined up in 2-page spreads, and the idea is the stuff on the left in the beginning is for the player, the stuff all the way on the right is for the game master. That whole right page is for the game master most of the time, depending on how you're willing to collaborate with your players. But the right column on the left page, right, is going to be player's choice or game master's choice, dungeon master's choice. Some folks are going to be less comfortable, and some folks are going to be more comfortable creating this together during character creation. Other folks, especially if you have a very specific idea of the adventure you're running, you might want to, as a game master, hold on to this side of the equation and pick stuff that's going to fit what you've already got. And that might involve a little adjusting here and there, be it the adventure or the tables from the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation. Or, again, you could be brave and try this right there at the table at session 0 and watch how the player character's entries start to intermix and combine with each other too, because they will connect with each other just on the page within the one character, but when the NPCs that are coming up, the friendly factions that are coming up, start to combine and suggest adventures, then oh man, that's when things really light up. So that being said, whether we're rolling this at the table with everybody or the game master's doing it in prep, friendly factions, the D4, we got a 3, the Skinwalkers, an enclave of druids, most comfortable wild shaped into animal forms. Oh, that's really cool. So maybe we are a druid and we're part of the Skinwalkers, right? Well, I also find a lot of friendly factions the players don't necessarily want to be a part of, right? The player party is kind of their own faction. They don't want to join anybody else, but they do want to ally with others that are potentially helpful, and a network of woodland creatures that are actually druids, who know, flying eagles in the sky running recon for you, telling you secrets, the location of the dungeon entrance, whatever the case may be. Those are good folks to know. And yeah, might they come in handy on the other pillars of play too? Beyond social and exploration, could you roll out a league of druid skinwalkers in a big climactic fight? That could be cool. And I don't know, where does that fit in your world, right? You're running Wizards of the Coast published material. Is there anybody remotely related to the Emerald Enclave, right? Well, maybe they're the Skinwalkers now. Or maybe it's both. Maybe it's the Emerald Enclave and the particular members of the Emerald Enclave that the player characters are meeting are druids who just hang out in wild shape all day. Now, assets and allies, friendly NPCs, this is one, along with the faction, that the reason this is on the player page is because if we can build these connections into character creation, then we hit the ground running when we start playing the game. If the party meets an NPC that already has a pre-established relationship with one of the player characters, we get rid of that, inside check. Will they, won't they? Do I like this guy? Is it secretly the big bad evil guy wearing a Scooby-Doo mask? All of that's gone. You know this person. You trust this person. You have a history with this person. Or, your buddy does. The ranger in the party has this connection. So let's see what we pulled. We pulled 5 grok. Hyper-intelligent crow, adept at mimicry, could be more to him than it seems. Bam. Okay, so, yeah, obviously one grok could be a member of the Skinwalkers, right? Grok could be our animal companion, our familiar, our pet, however we're rolling out this thing. Grok might be a Kenku or a Jenku, whatever we call it in Galarian for copyright reasons. There's a ton of options there, and it's Odin's crows, right? Maybe it's a raven in your world, but this hyper intelligent crow, adept at mimicry. So every couple of game sessions, your crow buddy rolls in and repeats something it's overheard. That could be great for the player, right? I love this crow, and whatever it's giving me useful information that I can capitalize on now or in the future. And from the game master side of things, I can have a little birdie sweep in, literally a little birdie swoop in and just boop, plot hook, lore drop, like, yes, please. I'm going to put Grok in every game now. Now, the part that I think a lot of game masters maybe won't be doing during character creation, but I did, what did we do? We 8, 9 times, and I regret none of them because, and what we're talking about here is magic items, right? If you roll up a powerful magic item during character creation, that doesn't necessarily mean your character has it, right? You want to be everybody's favorite game master, then like hand out magic items at character creation, especially if you're not starting at level 1. But if you are starting at level 1 and somebody rolls high, I mean, we rolled a 10, which it's not perfectly calibrated, but in theory, high number is good. If you roll something that, if a player rolls something that you do not think that they should have, it's a level 3 spell or a level 5 equivalent spell, and they're rolling out, a level 1 barbarian who doesn't even, use magic, then yeah, maybe it's a magic item that they have heard about, have heard rumors about, a legendary thing that is now in itself a plot hook, right? We can take this magic item and drop it wherever we were trying to get the characters to go in the first place, and boom, we're off to the races. So let's see. Enchanted Statuette. When attuned, can summon a beast equal to half their current level. Any Dritz fans in the house? I mean, summon animals, right? But you can flavor that to whatever system you're working with. I mean, you can make it summon celestials. You can make it find familiar if you wanted to, right? Like, this is not a stat block, right? This is light on the mechanic side of things. I mean, attunement is in there, half your level. I'm trying really hard to not break your game, but at the same time, if you're sitting in the game master's seat, right? If you're behind the dungeon master screen, adjust this to whatever you like, right? Maybe this is that ebony rat, right? Oh, you rolled a 10, but you're level 1. Like, I'm not going to give you half your level. I'm going to give you a rat. Or honestly, half your level is a CR 1/2 creature to summon, and then you spend your action to control. I think that's depending on all of the options, and who knows what system we'll all be playing in the future, right? But that doesn't seem too janky to me. All right, so that was fast and fun, at least for me. I hope you thought it was fun, and I think you should go try this thing to see how fun it is. There's a free PDF. It's 37 pages, 38 pages. It's on the Kickstarter page right now. You can download this. You can roll up an Animal Whisperer tonight for free. If you like it, support it. Please and thank you. We're going for stretch goals here, but you can use this right now without giving me a penny. And I promise it goes a lot faster when you're not explaining it as you do it. And look, we've got a much more interesting character from the gate, right? Like, I did this first, right? So now I have this Totem Barbarian, which, like, maybe I wouldn't even think of rolling one of those up today, but like, here we are. I'm very excited to. Or I came in with an idea already. I had a druid, I had a ranger, and I went in and I chose Animal Whisperer as my background and saw what I got. And if there's a thing that I don't like, I can change it in theory, right? Like, if we're doing this session 0 with our game master, then like maybe they're going to lock us into the magic item we roll, say. But if I have a very clear idea of what my character's motivations are going to be and get in touch with the purity of the primal, is rubbing against that in a way I don't like, right? Maybe they are trying to let go of this like primal drive, this primal alignment, this primal thought process that they've been like indoctrinated in by their culture, and they're trying to do the opposite of what that says. Or maybe we like number 9, serve as a bridge between species. Woof. I mean, that's super cool too. I mean, that's less of a that could be a barbarian too, man. Like, this is, yeah. I think I'm rolling up a Beastmaster. All that to say, awesome character quickly, right? Better characters fast. With connections to the world they're going to be exploring, which makes for way more interesting games, I promise. Even if you are beer and pretzels, nuts and bolts, power gamers, like, all of this stuff is going to spice up your games in ways that maybe you haven't experienced before. Now on to the next page, which is definitely more the game master territory. I have not experimented using this in tandem with my players. I would like this stuff to be more things that they're discovering, things that I am deciding in prep, adjusting to, the environment, the story that I'm running. But here we go. Here are these things that are calibrated to who these player characters are. So the players and their characters are way more likely to engage and respond in meaningful ways to them. So on this page, we're going to roll 4d6 and a d20. Let's roll that B-roll of rolling. And the first entry we're getting here is the antagonistic organization, an evil faction. An antagonistic faction is a great thing to include in your game because when they smoke the big bad evil guy way earlier than you thought they would, it turns out they were a lieutenant to an even bigger big bad evil guy, and that big bad evil guy is now throwing grunts and assassins and sergeants, whatever. You can build out a whole hierarchy of ranks, or you can just pick and choose as you need, but having a cohesive group of individuals, be it a goblin tribe or a red dragon with an army of minions, right? That's going to give you, the game master, way more tools at your disposal and the ability to tell cohesive stories instead of it all feeling a little random Benny Hill. So we rolled a 6. The Koaliseum. I apologize in advance. Koaliseum hosts cruel animal fights taking percentage of all wagers. I mean, okay, so yeah, there's an animal whisperer in the party. They hear about the Koaliseum, right? First of all, that's ridiculous. What is the Koaliseum, right? How many times am I going to have an NPC mention that in passing before someone's like, what the hell is the Koaliseum? And it's pit fights. I don't know if it's koalas with daggers going at it. Maybe it is on Tuesday nights or whatever, but there's animal fights that are going on for profit, and this totem barbarian with this like respect for animals, this totemic primal embrace of animals, this animal companion, this crow on their shoulder, this whatever Black Panther next to them. I think they're going to have something to say about that. I think they're going to want to investigate the Koaliseum. No, and like maybe that's a front for the Zentarum or the abandoned crew that's been hiding in the forest. They come to town and do this like fight club thing on Friday nights. And again, you bust up the Koaliseum and you find out, it's part of something bigger. The Koaliseum version in the starter town, right? We think we've eradicated, and then we go to the big city, and the members of the Koaliseum who are running things there are cognizant of who the player characters are, and now they're coming to you. They're creating adventure. They're driving the action. Or the opposite, they're running away and hiding in the dungeon that we're trying to get them to in the first place. In the same vein, we've got rivals and enemies, and some of these are NPCs that are not necessarily going to be combat encounters. Some of these people we're going to have to deal with socially because we can't just outright go and kill them unless we're going to be complete murder hobos, right? Maybe they're not that evil, or maybe they're too highly connected. Let's see what we get. Cantor Sparrowtail, a bard who uses caged birds in act, disappearing one as the encore. So I already have like a perfect, okay, it's a bard, but he's in like clerical robes, right? A cantor is a singer, but is like a singer of psalms, leads holy harmonies, melodies. But this is clearly like a charlatan, right? I mean, maybe he's a magic initiate cleric or whatever. Maybe he can cast bless or thaumaturgy, which is good for a bard. But this bard has these singing birds in their act and disappears one as the encore. So I mean, I 100% see this like magician's act where the little pigeon in the cage gets squished. Oh my god, how did he do it? He killed the thing, right? Our animal whisperer might have something to say about that too. And again, you want plot hooks, you want lore drops, you want a wealth of information in your game world, be it the starting town or the big city or a random encounter on the road. A bard is a traveling minstrel who's essentially a newscaster in some ways. We made a newscaster bard a long time ago, but like a troubadour, half of these stories are like entertainment, but it's infotainment, right? If you're in some faux medieval setting, right, then you're not necessarily getting the news delivered, especially if you're out in the hinterlands, the bard's going to show up and tell you, like, oh, by the way, there's a new king. And, like, yeah, maybe he does that in iambic pentameter or whatever. But yeah, bards know things. And in the case of Cantor Sparrowtail here, maybe he knows things but is a little disingenuous about sharing them. Maybe he lies to the party. I mean, you want them to go track this guy down again, have him go on a wild goose chase because of Cantor Sparrowtail. And then the next time they find him, he kills a bird and, like, okay, now it's on. Now it's a combat encounter. Evocative locations, I mean, just like we can find a battle map for this, or a dungeon themed on this, or, you know, create one our own, or just like reskin something that we're already running. And a lot of these are built to shine, like, thematically, but also potentially mechanically for these sorts of characters. And an evocative location for our animal whisperer might actually more easily tie in to somebody else's backstory. And now we're getting that combination of draws where different characters have different reasons to go to the same place. So we got the Jungle Primeval, oof, classic. Untouched by civilization, creatures thought extinct or only myth hunt here. Oh man, so okay, yeah, the land of the lost. Yeah, that's a fun dungeon location. I mean, whatever magical MacGuffin that we're searching for, maybe the statuette is there in this untouched by civilization caldera, or secluded valley, or a trans-dimensional space where dinosaurs roam. So thematic monsters, again, thematic monster concepts, again, system neutral. Find something in your monster manual that fits, or reskin it, or you stat one out, baby. But I'm not giving you stat blocks here, so that whatever level feels appropriate for you, you can roll one of these up or roll one of these out. So we got chimera and other magically made monstrosities of patchwork animal parts. And we don't think about that too often. I mean, maybe some of you do. I definitely have in the past, but, like, how did some wizard made this multi-part monstrosity, right? But, like, how did they get there? Animal experimentation, right? Animal cruelty. And again, if we shine a little bit of a light on that, now this chimera fight, which could be mechanically interesting in the first place, is now narratively interesting, at least to our animal whisperer, and potentially to, you know, the arcane casters in the party as well. Now, obviously, we can throw that chimera into the jungle primeval and say, oh, it's a beast. A wizard didn't make it. This is a thing that has whatever, naturally evolved or crossbred. I don't know how deep in the weeds you got to get with it to your players, but, like, chimera jumping out of the jungle primeval, you're going to think about it a lot harder than the player characters. The other thing is, not everything has to link together. My mind, and I think most of our minds, are built for pattern recognition, and I get a lot of joy out of seeing these connections form. But that chimera, again, might be more in someone else's backstory. It might be more relevant to the wizard who's, you know, he was an apprentice to this other wizard, and she was doing some shady stuff on the side, combining animal parts from, you know, live animals and testing. And our animal whisperer all of a sudden is now engaged in that character's backstory. And I hope my excitement is leaving room for you to have your own ideas to see how these things could connect to your home world, your characters, whatever your players are bringing to the table, whatever happened last week. I want to stress the flexibility in this. I could take this set of results, and in different games that I've run, it would be very different, even with the same inputs. And that makes it much more likely that it's going to be relevant to whatever you are doing and adaptable to whatever you are planning to do, so that the connections between the entries are a little less important than the connections between the player and the story, so that they're motivated and engaged in ways that generic fantasy adventure maybe won't touch. All right, the last set of entries on these tables in these spreads are actually the largest, and that's how we're going to finish here. I give you 20 plot hooks, story seeds, and adventure ideas, because this is the grab bag of things that you're going to keep reaching for. Whether you're homebrewing adventures and, like, okay, what's the next thing we're going to do here? And if you got 5 characters around the table, here's 100 ideas to homebrew things. But if you got 5 characters around the table and you know what the adventure is going to be, you get 100 different ways to connect the player character to that adventure so that they're going to care, so that you skip that part where everyone's sitting around the table trying to figure out how not to die, and someone's like, why are we even doing this again? We're doing this because this person's motivation, and this person needs this magic item, and this person's rival is hiding down here, and this person's friendly faction asked them to help retrieve this other MacGuffin. And again, I love that stuff. And that's the stuff that even like the best crafted adventure can't really provide for you, which is why I am excited to see this thing combining with other things. And more on that soon. But I've tried to create a tool that you're going to get use out of again and again and again by making it system neutral, right? Because I don't know what game system I'm going to be playing next year. 5.5, 6e, what 1D&D, whatever it may be. Pathfinder 2e remastered. I could name a million titles right now that I am very excited about. Shadow Dark, Colville's got a system. Mercer and Co. have a system coming out. Dungeon Coach has a system coming out. I've been reading Old Gods of Appalachia and listening to Old Gods of Appalachia. You need a new podcast, check that thing out. This Animal Whisperer it's a whole different vibe, right? But like, it wouldn't take a lot of work to make most of these points click in. The Jungle Primeval is obviously the Woods Primeval. But yeah, Cantor Sparrowtail would fit perfectly in Old Appalachia. All right, let's look at this plot hook specifically. 9. Family pets and farm animals alike are running away to a cave entrance that opens nearby. Woof. I mean, insert dungeon door here, right? But like, there's no mysterious hole in the ground somewhere in your game world, and all of a sudden, Daisy or Petunia has disappeared, as well as Fido, and they're all, our totem barbarian probably has a pretty good survival score, right? And has an interest in animals, and now we're tracking them right to the door of the place we want to go. And why are all of these animals being drawn to this place? Maybe it's the entrance to the forest primeval, right? Maybe there is, or some wizard's tower who's calling to them to experiment on them. There's a million reasons why that could be. And like, okay, will it work for every adventure ever? No, but will it work for a ton of adventures where like, for some reason, all of these animals are running away and going to this place? I mean, a lot of nights at a lot of tables, that's enough to kick things off. All right, I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. It's a lot more fun to do it yourself, so please, the link is in the description. Go get your hands on this thing and roll some dice and experience the joy of connection and creation. And explosive is the word here because it's a reaction. It's a reaction that creates energy. So get out there, get it, use it, tell me about it, support it if you enjoy it. The more folks contributing, the bigger and better this thing is going to get. I have all of these ideas, which is spelled out on the Kickstarter, for ways to have additional tool sets and tables that are going to be multiplier effects with these spreads. So please, please, please check out the link below, even just to experience this cool thing I made. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind, have fun. I'll see you next time.